you have configured data collection rule and still you're not able to see the log in the Azure Log Analytics workspace, let me show you how you can troubleshoot and see the log. So when we are working with data collection rule, Azure Monitor Agent and the workspace, there are a lot of components that works together for the monitoring. So we are going to go through all one by one and we'll see where the issue could be happening. So we are going to check if the data collection rule has the virtual machine attached. We have configured the data sources, what we want to collect from the virtual machine. And we have the agent that collects the data from the VM and then sends to the workspace. And then finally, we are going to generate a log from inside the virtual machine and check that if we can see on the workspace. So for the entire pipeline, we need to have a source that is a virtual machine from where the data is going to be picked up. I already have a Linux VM, and next we need is a data collection rule. So if we search for data collection rule, we have one already there, and let's check what it's collecting from the VM. So if we go to configuration, we have the data sources. In the data sources, we have configured Linux Syslog, and then we have is a workspace that is a destination where all the data is going to be sent. So if we search for log analytics workspace, we have already one created, and then go to the logs. In the logs, we'll go to KQL mode, wherein we can manually type down queries we want to search. And in here, we'll search for syslog and then run. There is no result, right? And this is what we are going to troubleshoot. If you have a virtual machine that you're not seeing the logs, you would need to follow these all steps to get the data here. Now we'll check all the prerequisites needs to be configured properly so that the log will appear. So we'll start the troubleshooting with the data collection rule. And in here, we'll go to our data collection rule. In the data collection rule, we need to ensure that the virtual machine, we want to see the logs. The machine needs to be attached. And you can see we don't have any machine. So we'll add a machine which we want to monitor and see the logs, apply. And now whenever we add a virtual machine, data collection rule does two steps. It enables the managed identity inside the virtual machine that will allow the virtual machine to talk to the data collection rule and other Azure services. And then also it will install the Azure Monitor Agent. Next, we'll go to data sources. In the data sources, we need to make sure whatever data we want to collect from the virtual machine needs to be properly configured. So we'll open Linux syslog. And in here, you can see that even if we have applied the Linux syslog collection, we do not have any log which we have selected for collection. For this testing, I'll select all. And basically what I'm doing is I'm selecting the logs which I want to see from the virtual machine in the workspace. So after the selection, I can change the log level also, like debug info, warning, error, and all of that information. I'll stick with debug and then we'll go to next destination. In the destination, we need to make sure that the workspace is correctly configured. So we have already configured the workspace. Also, we need to make sure that the data collection rule and the workspace needs to be in the same region. And if not, this is not going to work properly, right? So we have the data source configured properly and the destination also will save. So we have checked two steps till now. We have checked the resources and attached the virtual machine and the data source is also what we want to collect from the VM. And now next thing to check is that the virtual machine agent needs to be installed. So when you saw that the data collection rule association installed agent and identity, we need to make sure that the agent is properly installed and not in any failed status. For that, we can log into the virtual machine also and we can check from the outside by going to the virtual machine. So let's go to our Linux VM and then when we'll expand, we'll see virtual machine and then go to extension. We'll have the Azure Monitor Linux agent, right? And it's in the provisioning succeeded. And if it's in the provisioning failed status, our collection will not work. So we need to make sure our agent is properly installed. And next is we are going to go to identity and see if our identity is enabled. So our identity is also enabled and this basically allow our virtual machine to talk to the data collection rule and other services. So we have checked the data collection rule and the virtual machine, everything is configured properly. And in the log analytics workspace, we need to just make sure that our region is same as our data collection rule. That is Central India and it should match with DCR. And if these three are properly configured, we are going to definitely see the logs. Now we are going to log into the virtual machine and manually generate a log entry to see in the workspace. So we'll copy the public IP, then connect. right? So we have successfully logged in and we can check the agent from the inside also. For that, we'll do service is running properly, and now we are going to manually generate a log, do a logger and test log from Azure VM. And basically this will generate a syslog entry. Now finally we are going to go to the workspace and then check if our logs are appearing in there. Right, so we'll head over to the workspace. And also in the workspace, you should be aware that whatever data you are ingesting from the virtual machine, whether it's a performance counter, Azure metrics, change tracking, all get created in their own table and data gets stored there. So we should be aware that in which table our data is getting stored. And from that table, we are going to basically search it. In this case, we will copy our syslog and then go to the logs. Under logs, we'll paste and then run. So we have the data coming up from the virtual machine. You can see the name of the VM here, troubleshoot logs VM. And next is if we expand one of the log messages, you can see the all details of a single log. And now we are going to check manual log we created from the VM is getting pop up here or not. From facility from daemon to a user, right? Basically, a user has initiated that logging. So you can see the manual generated log here, which I generated from the virtual machine, right? And the process name was Arya. So we are getting the log successfully. So this confirms everything is working correctly. So whenever logs are not showing, check DCR is attached. Syslog, whatever data we want to collect is configured properly. The agent is installed and is in status provisioning succeeded, right? And if you are still facing issues, drop a comment. I'll help you fix it.